Does merchant need security? Of course. Does merchants need, competitive rate? Yes. But it's all a race to the bottom, and we know it.
Hey everybody, fantastic interview today with Mony from Dejavoo Systems. I really enjoyed this one, Patti. He's such an industry legend. It was a lot of fun.
It was a lot of fun. And actually, I had forgotten how much of a legend he was, right? I mean,
if you ever sold a Nurit terminal from Lipman, that was Mony.
That was, I never realized that, and then I think that your questions from the field was an awesome one this time, because I think what you're offering is something that the industry can really use. Maybe
just trying to kind of map out this idea of generating leads with telemarketers, which a lot of you might think, well, that's dead, and it is as far as appointment scheduled leads. Not dead, but it's very expensive and difficult. But we've come up with a new model, so something I'm making available to ISOs and agents that have the budget that they want to look into it. But more importantly, I kind of map it out in that segment so you can get an idea of how to do it yourself if you are not looking to work with a company like mine to do it. So we have that, and then Patti talked to us about the insiders with X.
Yeah, X marks the spot, doesn't it? Elon Musk has made it clear that he wants to come after PayPal. James and I have, I think, a very interesting discussion about how that might play out.
Yeah,
and this episode is brought to you by Nativia Banking.
Awesome.
James, what do you say we get on with the episode?
Yeah, let's jump in. I think one of the things I'll mention real quick here, I always say, is at this time, neither Mony or Dejavoo is a paid advertiser, sponsor, consulting client. Doesn't mean I won't work with them in the future, but as of right now, we don't have any of that. It's just a interview with an industry legend. So with that in mind, let's jump in. Hey everybody, we are here today with Mony Zenou, who is the CEO of ISVs Systems. How you doing today, Mony?
How are you, James? Thanks very much for taking the time.
Absolutely. Great to have you.
Being here.
Hello, Patti.
Yeah, so today we're going to talk about integrated payments and the future of hardware, and just there's so many interesting trends going on. And of course, Mony's been at the center of these trends for quite a long time now. Before we dive into all of that, though, Mony, I'd love to get your story. How did you end up, and I've actually never heard the story, so I'm very curious to hear, how did you get into this crazy industry? And then how did you end up kind of doing what you're doing now?
Okay. All right. So I actually got to the country in 1990. I finished my BA in the university after my army service. I served 5 years in the Israeli army. And I came to America with an idea, with some patented idea in marketing that ended up not exactly what I expected, but through this, I needed a job. I started as a tennis pro just to pass the time. And then I found an ad in the Israeli paper that offered no green card, etc. You can go ahead and work. And I became a salesperson. I sold credit card machine and credit card accounts for Peachtree, or those one of the first reiteration of the ISOs. And then from there, met my wife, went to Israel to get married, got introduced to Lipman, suggested to Lipman to open a division in the United States. They gave me $10,000, 3 months, said, look, do what you can do. Wow. End up, he sold the company for $800 million 14 years later.
Right.
Moved to Miami for, of course, during this period, I grew my family. And then we moved to Miami for a few years. In Miami, we established Dejavoo. Right. I had a non-compete, which I thought was a blessing, but ended up being a curse, because it's not a good idea not to be employed. And then we got started. So, then I called my executive team from Lipman. They were at Verifone at the time. I said, guys, do you want to join? They said, yes. I said, okay, I'll give you 25% interest in the company. And that's how we started. Michael Grossman, Joe Casella, Lori Pagnozzi, myself, David Ben-Asulin, my brother-in-law, and my wife, Mira. So we started the business. The kids were under this table in height. And today they all grown past universities. 3 of them work in the company, which I'm very proud
That's great.
of that. And That's my short
That's
story.
an awesome story. That's an awesome
They-
story, Mony.
maybe it's the American dream.
Yes,
I
I
mean,
would
so.
say so.
I think it's the American dream.
I would say so.
So when America had a dream, I think I took advantage of it. So hopefully it still have a dream.
Yes, absolutely. Well, I love it. That's a fantastic story. What's interesting about that? I actually did not know about your connection with Lippmann. So that's super interesting. I didn't realize that that's actually how you got into all of that in the terminal
No,
market.
I changed. I'm the founder of Lippmann.
And so you're like Lippmann US. That's where
I'm
it all
Lippmann
started.
US. Lippmann Latin America accounted for 140 million out of the 240 million sales that they had when they sold to Verifone.
Right,
And
right.
probably most of the profits.
Yeah, that's great, man. I love it. That's awesome. Okay,
Yeah.
so so as we get into this topic, talking about hardware and the future of the industry with verticalization, I always like to zoom out a little bit because I think it's easy for us in the payments industry to kind of, look internal as, what we think is important. But I'd love to get your thoughts on the small business owner today. So as we think about small business owner USA, what is it that they want from a payment processor? How is that different from, 10 years ago? And like, what does that mean to you?
So honestly, I think to answer this question, one have to think, who's really making the sales in our industry? Is it a pull or is it a push? And I think that it's mostly a push. Because if you think about at least our crowd, the agents, the ISOs, the ISVs, maybe a little less on the ISVs, but they go out there, they get their merchants.
Yeah.
And then they need to convince them that they should switch to them or use their system or use their product.
Right.
So I think if it's a push, then the question is, what is the tools that those people will have when they go and try to convince a merchant? So now, does merchant need security? Of course. Does merchants need, competitive rate? Yes. But it's all a race to the bottom, and we know it.
Right.
So we think that the differences are where either the ISOs or the merchants has an edge, and creating the edge. For example, do cash discounting, right?
Right.
So true cash discount is today what we promote. We patented, whatever, it doesn't matter. Now we're being copied as usual, but it's okay. But we started with custom fee. We started with, with different surcharge program, with convenience fee programs 8-9 years ago. We did for government, we did for private enterprise, we did for, debit and credit and all of those things. So this is one thing that makes a big difference. I think the other difference is that registers today became a more centric offering in the ISO world. 10 years ago, they sold credit card machines and merchant accounts. Today, a lot of them are offering POS systems. And then with that, of course, comes semi-integration, and with that comes sophistication, then added value, features, etc. But at the base of it, if you look at the success of Square and SumUp and Adyen, etc., you see that, or Clover for that matter, you're starting to look at ecosystem that takes A to Z and bring it to the merchant. And my job is to help the ISO compete with this particular offering,
right,
that alone they cannot do it as effective as if you have a fintech company like us helping them. So the merchant, they moving to Android? Absolutely. They love Android.
right.
Do they need buy now, pay later? Of course. Do they need merchant loan? Some percentage of them do need it. But what they're going to need in the future is one question. The second question is, what systems are unique to them right now that we can make a difference? We can create a difference. And so I think what merchants wants is not to pay more than they pay today, save some money if they can save money. And mostly merchants wants to get traction. They want to get increased business, but do they expect, and that's the question, do they expect the credit card processor provider to increase their business?
Right.
The answer is most likely no. What is our job? To make sure that we can do that. And so that's where we bring program and features and integration options and supplemental services. Some will go into the credit card terminal by the base functionality, like cash discount or tax or tip adjust or all of those things. But others would be complementary. It would be the other systems, the other features. For example, a QuickBook integration or an auto dealer integration.
Right.
Or a marketing campaign direct to Google, or all of those features are the keys to my ISO, that I consider my ISO, although I don't own them. My agent, when he goes and he presents my system in front of a merchant, he should have a lot more tools to be successful.
So I love that. One question I would have that kind of builds off of that. You've worked with so many ISOs over the years. When you look at the competition that they're facing today, you already mentioned Square. We think about, the vertical specific PayFacs like Toast. A lot of small ISVs out there that are going vertical specific as well.
Yeah, true.
What are these challenges? I talk to ISOs, all day long, every day now, and there's a lot of challenges facing them. In your mind, what are their biggest challenges today, and what should they be doing? How should they be adjusting to this new reality of integrated payments and verticalization?
So, first of all, they got to get on board. I mean,
Yes.
I'll give you a personal example, as you probably very well aware of. I think I was sleeping too. 4 years ago, I didn't think I should have been in the gateway business. I really didn't think so. I thought it was competitive in nature to my interface vendors, which mean the processor, the Visa, the Teases, the Global, etc. And I said, look, why would I go and then my ISO started to have their own gateways. And then I said, okay, if I create my own gateway, then they see it as a threat. And then I learned my lesson. I understood that it was wrong. Okay. And so I think that the challenge of my ISOs, the ISOs in the market, anybody who's offering it, they need to provide an ecosystem, an omni-channel, something that answers all the needs of the merchants on a one single sign-up company. Ideally, one company. Why? Because Square is a single company. First Data is a single company. SumUp is a single company. Okay, and you even take very successful companies like Lightspeed or Vend or whatever, they still needed the interface to our terminals. So that means they're missing an element. Square closed that gap. Right now, Square is moving into banking, into bank accounts, merchant loans, whatever it is. And of course, they had their inventory. So I think the ISOs truly need to be able to present themselves as, I got it all. I can cover you in the store. I can cover you online. I can cover you on your phone with a tap on phone. I can cover you when you have a host payment page that you need. If you have recurring billing, I'll give you the solution for it. And even if you need simple inventory, I'll build it into your gateway if I can. So you don't need to go into my other system, which is the other thing ISO needs. And that is a Clover-like, a Square-like retail restaurant solution. So what Dejavoo tried to do is to give them as many as possible of those features. And by doing so, I think I'm equalizing the game. Cannot get into the rate. But, I'll give you an example. The other day, a young ISO I introduced in the industry, and I'm not sure if I did the right thing, but I did. So he works today with one of the ISOs, and he came with a bank deal. Sorry, a hotel deal.
Okay.
So first hotel out of 20 hotels he promised. And then he says, okay, so what's the rate? And he says, Mony, there's a problem. I mean, the offer is 4 cents per transaction, no interchange, no fees, no nothing, just 4 cents per transaction. And I said, okay, and how do you gonna fight with this? And he said, well, I don't know, I'm calling you. What should I do? And I said, look, the only way you can compete with it, you're gonna have to equalize that, but you're gonna have to find a way to make money in a different way. And I gave him a few ideas of how to do it. Here's another thing that ISO needs to think about. ISO probably don't realize, for the most part, that most of the money in this industry is made by the issuers, obviously, right? Everybody
Right.
knows that. But
Sure.
what does it mean to the ISO? To the ISO today, most ISOs, it means almost nothing.
Right.
But it should tell them that they should go after the consumers.
Right.
Because the money is with the consumers, really, right?
Yep.
So what do you need to do? You need to do loyalty. You need to do rewards, and you need to have a marketing campaign built around that. So
Yes.
then you can go back to your merchants and then tell to the merchant, okay, Mr. Merchant, look, today, here's your volume. Tomorrow, I can at least increase it by 5%, and I can get this customer to come back. And I can give you the analytics out of my own data that I'm getting out of your terminal, even if I don't have your register. And I will go ahead and give you some loyalty and some repeated business, and maybe even increased business. So when we talk about increased business, we need to think about buy now, pay later. Okay, that's very
Right.
important. We need to provide that. So we created in Hypospace, we created this alternative payment module that consolidate all this alternative payment into one, section of the payment. I think that's the answer.
Yeah, that's really cool. Very, very, very cool. Okay, so we also have a lot of vertical specific ISVs out there in our audience. So let's talk about them for a minute or two. I'm sure you work with a lot of software companies that are looking to monetize payments, right? So what are the challenges you see them facing, and how do you see the market shifting in terms of the relationship between ISOs and ISVs?
So I think in principle, maybe I'll start with the end. I think
Okay.
there's consolidation, right? We see a lot of consolidation. And
Sure.
we understand that everybody, so either you're going to create your own inventory control program, that's going to take you 5 years, or you're going to join somebody that already has it and it's proven, etc. So I think what ISV wants, for the most part, because they already have the system, they want a reliable connection to the payment side. What the most important thing for them is, don't ever take me down.
Wow.
Right.
Leave me up, make sure that you stay in connection, make sure that I have somebody to call, that I can support, I can be supported when I have a problem, etc. Dejavoo now has over 200,000 spin merchants. That means 200,000 across 400 to 450 different VARs that has chosen our REST API, JSON, XML, spin protocol, and is connecting to us 99% through the proxy, through our cloud. So the next thing ISV wants, in my opinion, is not to worry about the local area network in the store. He needs to think about service, because every call he gets, it's dollars and time and a risk to his portfolio. So the reason I believe we have so much success with this, we started with Dejavoo. Dejavoo was a back office data that simply you backed up at the end of the day after the settlement, and we kept it on your cell phone, on your tablet, and you'll be able to see it. And of course, Spin is part of Dejavoo. So we found that ISV at times like the data so much because they say they don't get such data from their processor.
Right.
But they got the data from us, and they got all the slices and the analytics of what was sold and et cetera, and returns and refunds, et cetera. So I think this is the most important thing to them. The next thing that ISV wants, every opportunity is a little different than the rest. So over the last, I would say 8-10 years, we've developed now the Spin protocol with so many webhooks and so many features. And of course, it supports every single function of the terminal as they know it. And most recently, when we did the QuickBook integration, we did something very special. We told the terminal to tell back to the register that I'm getting paid in cash. Why? Remember the dual pricing? What happened if in the dual pricing scenario, the customer says, okay, here's my cash, but I already sent the transaction to the terminal.
Right.
I need to do something about it to be legit, right? So I press the cash. we created a spin function that goes back into the register and say, expect cash. We didn't finish. Don't think it's done. And then when he does it, the next thing we do, we get back the confirmation. Once we get the acknowledgement on the cash receipt, now we send the transaction to QuickBooks online, and automatically we handle the accounting in the store. VAR integration, auto dealer integration we did is very important. Here's another thing that we did that is actually cool for ISVs and for ISOs. We've provided now L2, L3 autofill function. That means that many corporate cards can actually get anywhere between 40, sometimes 60, and up to 80 basis point discount on the interchange, which the ISO keeps.
Yeah. I was just talking to Dave Humphrey about this the other day, because they just implemented it, and he was telling he was raving about it and like, oh, this is crazy.
Yes.
Like he was amazed.
It's listen, when I heard, I said, my God, why it's not done before? So, you know, we've done it, and we have now with the CDK interface, which is this auto dealer interface, we're talking about millions of transactions that are legible for discount. And so what ISV wants, what ISO wants, they want to maximize their transaction and maintain the loyalty of their customers. They want retention.
Yeah, no, that's true. Okay, let's shift gears just a little bit and talk a little more specifically about IPOS and your suite of solutions.
So, yeah, I mean, so IPOS is the holding company. Dejavoo is the brand, by the way. So people, I got mixed up with this. You know, I when I moved to Puerto Rico, I said, okay, it's time for us to use our our holding name. We are IPOS. Then I hired this marketing company, my daughter did. And, you know, I wasn't surprised when they told me, you're wrong. You're 100% wrong. You need to keep Dejavoo. That's your brand. And so now we Dejavoo and IPOS company in small, you know, right there.
Right.
So, okay. So what Dejavoo is doing, okay? I see my mission statement, like I stated before, is to give this technology, yes, but mostly to give choice. The most important thing that Dejavoo can do for its customer is to give choice, to be reliable, and to keep our family-oriented business the way we handle our customer for 33 years, true and holding true for every single small agent ISO or big, you know, fat ISO. It doesn't matter. Everybody's the same. That's why in our company, we have just a bit over 200 employees. 140 of them are in R&D and in service, split it about 90 to 50 or 100 from 40. Okay? And because those are the two elements that are the most important thing in our company. Innovation, yes, but reliability and choice and level of service, these are the things that makes or breaks a company. I mean, as you know, with IPOS Pays, which is a fantastic gateway, I'm so very proud and thankful for, you know, Venkat and his team in Chennai, India, doing all this amazing work. But they couldn't do their work without the foundation that we've created in Dejavoo and the knowledge that we had in Dejavoo with our standalone terminals. And today, if you look at our ratio, yes, there's good movement toward the gateway, but still the majority of our business is in, you know, DV Pay, the Android line, and then of course some of Castle lines, etc. And we want to cater to every ISO to his needs. Some want gateway, some have their own gateway, and they don't want us as a gateway. Some say, okay, gateway to gateway makes sense because I want your features, and I know it's going to take me a couple of years to do it, so I'll do it.
Right.
Some said, absolutely not, never do. But so we give the choice. The other thing that I think IPOS will do in the future, and we already started with 2 instances, but we're probably going to move to 3 or 4 new instances of iPOS Pays this year, which mean customers that use us and then said, thank you very much. I'm good. Now let me take it from here, and I cannot pay you $300,000 a month in fees. I better pay you $50,000 in maintenance and move all my portfolio to my instance. I want it behind my PCI. Keep me up with features, you know, but I need to be on my own. So I think we want to be a technology center for the ISOs and for the ISVs. We want to solve the problem. We want to give them solution. Sometimes we come up with idea. Sometimes they come up with idea. Rarely we block one feature from everybody. Sometimes it happens only twice that I can remember. Was very unique. A lot of dollars were paid. Okay, we gave a little bit of time, but ultimately we have one big source code with 3 manufacturers going into 4 this year. 4 different manufacturers, 3 of them are Android. The gateway system, the back office of Dejavoo, our own Dejavoo Pro for the ones that don't want or cannot do their own inventory control, but they need it in order to sell a complete package, and offer this to our market as a solution. And the last thing that we're going to do this year, which is for the first time, we started to deal with the banks. And we normally didn't. I mean, we never did PNC, F&B, B of A. Now we do. So we're in order to do so, the company had to grow. So what do you mean? Corporate government, all kind of standards, ISO standards, you know, you need to go through the motions. So now with more personnel, with a lot more executives, admittedly with my kids coming back from universities and saying, Dad, you don't know what you're doing. I mean, we need to do this a little bit different. You know, but it's true. For example, my daughter came with this notion of, we are a family business. We are very unique in the way we maintain our employees over 20 to 30 years. We almost never let go, never fire. So he said, this is a very emotional, you know, kind of field that we have. It's a very family business, and it's not communicated correctly to the market. So what do you do about this emotional connection to your customers? Except telling you love them all the time, but but they need to feel it somehow. So you know, we rebranded, we did, you know, the website, et cetera, and most importantly, we invest a lot of money in creating the best possible solution and the service of it.
Yeah. You know, I have one follow-up question. I know we're about out of time, but I don't know why I didn't include this originally, but one thing I've been asking a lot of people about that you would have a probably unique insight on. So as we look at, again, going back a little bit here, but vertical specific software. Okay. So we think about vertical specific software in the card not present world, you know, it's just taken over, right? I mean, every vertical that's card not present, there's 20 or 30 or 40 different vertical specific software companies with all these unique integrations and features.
Yeah.
And I think one of the big reasons for that is that the barrier became really low, right? If you want to develop a new software, it's not that hard anymore. You hire 3 developers, you give them 6 months, you've got an MVP. But now as we see that shifting to card present, which hasn't been quite, you know, there's a lot of card present verticals that don't have a ton of specific solutions out there, largely because of certification of hardware and these barriers of like, how do I get my, I've got my web app, but I need to get it into a physical location device without having to spend a year getting EMV certified and certification with the processor and et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. So where do you see this going? Because I'm sure you're thinking about this a lot because your solution seems kind of ideally positioned for that trend. What are your thoughts on that?
So you're right. I mean, there's a lot of verticals. So the first thing is, for time to market, they need a simple API for interface for payment to get going. Okay, that's good. So that is important. But I'm not sure that you're right about the 6 months. I mean, it takes a little bit of time. But what you need to do is, no matter what you do, you need to give the integrator multiple payment option that even the one that he doesn't think about today. For example, when you have a web developer that developed this great app and it's on, let's say, iOS or Android, okay? Or even, I was at NRF this week, I just came back. And I went to those integrators, the Sunmi and you know, the Bluebird and the Samsungs and their beautiful registers and beautiful solution. You know how many of them came to me and says, hey, we got the NFC here now on the screen. And I said, okay, so where's the insertion? He says, no, we got the NFC. Soft pause. So they think tap on phone. So just imagine this insurance company that has this application and 1,000 agents, and you have the best, you know, the best possible insurance program, and it's great and it's working, and you go door to door and you sell terms or life insurance or whatever it is, and then you want to take payment. You don't have a space for your credit card machine. You need to do it on your phone. So integrators want to have that flexibility. So I think this is where we can make a difference to them in providing them, and always think about the next thing in payment, the next thing that is going to make a possibility of. Think about a restaurant that has already all set up. They have their system, they have everything. And all they need to do now is they want to extend 5 more stations because they're growing. And all they need really, they need their phone of their waiters to become a tap machines, and the rest they can already handle in their application. So that knowledge with the ISVs that this is available, I think is what we at least see ourselves as responsible to do. And the most important thing is, perhaps that's something that I want to make sure that I don't forget to tell you, is that, and it goes back to that gateway. So the gateway as the aggregator of all the data, as the focal point and the switching point, and believe me, we built some amazing, you know, solution for different industry, different niches, because at the end of the day, they come to the center, to the hub. From the hub, we give them much more quicker time to market and very nice solution.
Got it. Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. I like that. So basically, it's omni-channel. You got that kind of almost hub and spoke model. You know, the hub being the gateway.
It has to be that way. It has to be that way. And then if they don't do it through iPOS, they do it through their own gateway. And if they're not doing it through their gateway, they're going to Rapid Connect or they're going to somebody else. Doesn't matter. Somebody else is going to do it, because ultimately the transaction is good to be handled on the cloud. It could be managed, it could be voided, it could be refunded, it could be manipulated, it could be sent. I mean, I'm thriving to get a marketing plan for my customers. I want them to go after the consumers. I want to bring the consumer data to the gateway, of course, secure and tokenized, but then go back, because this is what we did in the NRF show. We introduced for the first time, quietly, Dejavoo Extra. Dave may talk to you about that because he loves it. So Dejavoo Extra is a loyalty program from Europe that I adopted and brought. I put it on our tap on phone and I put it on the terminals. And it sounds fantastic to do loyalty, whatever, but then when you go behind the scene into the merchant portal and you look at the analytics that the data is creating and the campaign that we can build to bring the merchant. This, you know how much they charge? They can charge as much as $500 per merchant. So, you know, here's ISOs, ISVs, you sell, you know, credit card processing, you make $80, $100, $200 a month, but there's an opportunity to make a lot more and be more dependable. You know, if you bring more value.
I love it. Well, Mony, I'm sure we could, Patti and I could you know, serve up another 50 questions here, but we better cut it off here. But before we end, and I really appreciate your time and your insights. It's been fantastic. I want to make sure our audience knows where to go to learn more. So for those that are ISOs or ISVs, they just want to learn more about working with you and your team, where would you send them?
DejavooSystems.com or IPOSystems.com, both works in this case. And then if an email need to be sent by somebody with query, sales@dejavoosystems.com.
Excellent. Mony, thank you so much again for your time and your insights. Really appreciate it, and wishing you great success in 2024.
Thank you, Patty and James, and thanks for the opportunity to actually share my vision with you.